Hello everyone, this is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover. I'm back with another video. What do you think of the posters? Yeah, hang on, let me show you real quick. We now have Poltergeist, and we have Big Trouble in Little China. For those of you who've been sorry. For those of you who've been watching a lot of my videos, you notice for the most part that part's always been bare, and finally I managed to get a couple of really cool horror movie posters put up. Well, Big Trouble in Little China isn't exactly a horror movie poster, but still, it's John Carpenter, so it's pretty awesome. So, okay, well, we're gonna do a movie review, and boy, this is an hour of my life I'm never gonna get back. Okay, I bought the double feature of Mondo Weirdo and Vampiros Sexos, and I thought that this was going to be something really interesting. It's very rare. I've already 916 out of 2000. I've already reviewed Mondo Weirdo, and I already gave my thoughts on that one. The movie we're going to be talking about now is Vampiros Sexos, aka I Was a Teenage Zabadoing, whatever the hell that is. But basically, yeah, it's meant to be like a hardcore vampire sex movie and stuff. You have this main character named Zaphod, whatever his name is, and basically he becomes infected and he bites his girlfriend, and then she in turns they start bringing in all these people. They're having sex with them and biting them, turning them into vampires and things like that. And it's this movie. I mean, this is definitely like the definition of amateur filmmaking. I mean, this movie is amateur on every single level in terms of acting, in terms of filmmaking, and everything else. And it says it's Carl Anderson's debut film, and it's like, yeah, if this was his very first, it's like, yeah, that would make sense because this movie is just it's not very well filmed at all. There's so many. The movie shot in black and white, and there are so many parts of the movie where it's overexposed, and there are so many parts where the movie's overexposed, and there are so many parts where there's so many like where the film burns out and everything else, and just it's I know it's like this is supposed to be like something in the vein of like David Lynch or like Jean Luc Godard or something like that. And it's like it may very well be, but just these movies just this one here in particular, Vampiros Sexos, it has no. Um, it's just not interesting. I mean, I had pretty much the same criticism when I did Mondo Weirdo, where I talked about like it's like it's sleazy, but it's not sleazy enough. It's deplorable, but it's not deplorable enough. It's you know, this movie does boast that it has hardcore sex scenes, and I do believe that it does. And but the funny thing, yeah, I mean that's really sad when I've reviewed some of the redemption vampire sex films, and those were softcore, and those look more realistic than this does. The sex scenes in this movie, even if they are hardcore, if they are real, they look staged. They look kind of like a lot of the people are just kind of flailing around and all this other. That's what a lot of it looks like. It just looks like a lot of people flailing around and stuff like that. Now, you know what? To be fair, there are a couple of a couple of scenes in this movie that were actually done quite well, somewhat. There's a scene where we have a detective character who's introduced for absolutely no reason. There's like this faint little bit of dialogue where they say something about that they think an orgy is going on. Well, what ends up happening is this character Zaffa and this girl that he meets on the street, she comes up and they talk while he's trying to dispose of a body that they killed, and he's trying to dispose of it, and so they get picked up by this guy who they don't say who he is or how he knows them or anything. Guy just pulls up at a car, opens the door, and they both get in, and then they go to this apartment, and there's this guy with glasses, almost has a little bit of a look of the cinema snob to him. I mean, kind of looks a little bit like the cinema snob, and he's sitting there with this woman who has no hair, and And so they grab a beer and they go into this bedroom, and then they have a three-way scene and stuff, and then they turn around and um, you can tell this movie really doesn't have much of a budget at all for special effects, because the woman, she gets ready to, like, bash him on the head, and then it's all of a sudden there's like this cutaway to like this, bad, like scratched up exposed piece of film. Then it cuts back to the guy just falling on the floor and stuff, and then they're supposed to be like biting him and stuff. And while this detective character, he goes into the bedroom and he sees this, he sees, the hand sticking out from under the bed. He pulls up the sheet, sees the dead body. Well, the dead body, the eyes open, he comes to life. He's like he's gonna attack him and stuff like that. And so, he fights off the vampire character basically by swinging a chair at him. Not really hitting him with the chair, but just kind of like swinging it in his general direction, and the guy falls down, and that's pretty much about it. So yeah, they're trying to recruit more people for their vampire group and stuff. At one point, there's this guy that one of the girls encounters in a bar, and he's doing basic. If you've ever seen the movie 1941, you notice like John Belushi's character had this thing that he did. It was kind of gross, but it was funny. Where every time, like John Belushi, like every time he'd take a drink of coffee or he drink a, there's like a scene where he's got like a bottle of Coca Cola or something. He takes a drink, like as soon as he gets it in his mouth. Well, this character is kind of doing the same thing, but he's doing it with like booze. He's doing it like he's in there. He's like taking shot, and I don't understand why the bartender keeps pouring him all these drinks and stuff. He just keeps drinking and just spitting it out all over the place. Let's see here. But they end up, she ends up taking him back, and it's like she's, and again, they're getting into another one of these sex scenes where it's just, it just looks like they're just kind of flopping around all over the place and stuff like that, and just kind of wrestling around and things like that. And this bald woman from the scene in the apartment, she comes in and she's got a knife, and it's like you see the knife like coming close to his head but never connecting, and then all of a sudden it cuts to, you see he's got the, what you see in like those Halloween shops, the fake knife through the head and stuff like that, and you could clearly tell that they don't even hide it. You see the little plastic band going around the head and stuff like that. So and then this guy comes back later as a vampire. I don't know why, but of course, like, the fun part is when the guy's supposed to be dead, they're dragging him away, and clearly you see he's still breathing, and his eyes are, he's blinking a lot and stuff like that. So um yeah, so there's a scene where this one, they lure this bartender, and they turn her into a vampire while she's trying to lure this guy back, and this detective sees him, and just out of nowhere he just knows that this woman is, up to no good, and she's leading this guy to his death. So he goes, they're going up a staircase, and from out of nowhere these butcher knives come out, and she's doing the like she's sharpening them, getting ready to cut something. And so he just, he comes, just kind of like pushes her over, grabs the guy, and they make a run for it. They get in the car, and we're introduced to probably two of the worst, I mean, literally the worst vampire hunters in movie history, even to the point where the guy is, like they're talking about, like there's a scene, they're standing there together, and they're talking about, how do you kill a vampire? And they're just looking through a magazine and stuff, and they talk about sunlight, garlic, crosses, holy water, things like that. The normal things like that. And which is funny because, hang on, I'll get to sunlight in a minute. But anyway, though, so yeah, they decide, and then once they find this out, they decide to sing. I'm not making this shit up. I promise you. They say that, oh, this is how you kill a vampire: sunlight, garlic, holy water, stuff like that. And then they just put the magazine down, blah, blah, and it's like I don't know where the hell that came from. Um, so anyway, so yeah, they mentioned sunlight as a way of killing vampires in this movie, but it's freaking ridiculous because in this movie you can clearly see like the vampires are always out running around during the daytime, and you see like, it's basically supposed to be kind of like a vampire Holocaust is starting to go around, and you just see people like you just see these vampires running around during the daytime and all this attacking people in broad daylight and things like that. So, ooh, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but then again, so is this movie. It's not good. I'm sorry, just my opinion personally. Just it's not good. Um, so they go. Apparently, yeah. So like the detective and this one kid, they decide they're going to be vampire hunters. They're going to go destroy the vampires, and like they're going and they hold up the crucifix to this one vampire. It doesn't do anything. Apparently, in the universe of this movie, how do you stop a vampire with a copy of a book and a beta tape? You heard me. I said that. It's like they find like a what looks like a copy of a book, a hardback book, and a beta tape, and they just like hold this beta tape and this book up in front of these vampires, and apparently that's what kills them. So they're going to. So our two vampire hunters, if you want to call them that, um, they go to kill one of the female vampires, and because she's naked, they just automatically decide, well, we're not going to kill her. We're going to, fuck her brains out, pretty much. So the detective, he starts getting his clothes off and stuff. And then Zapha and the other vampires, they come in, they tie up the detective, and the kid, he gets bitten and everything else. And so he's laying there. So the detective, he's laying there. They put a gag in his mouth and stuff like that. Well, this guy, this fat guy, with like the fake knife through his head and stuff, he comes back and he starts singing, and apparently that's the end of the movie. So yeah, I mean, this movie, I mean, it's meant to be shocking. It's meant to be, it's meant to appeal to like punk rockers and emo goth types and things like that. And but the thing is, it's just you know, this movie is just wow. It's not good. I mean, that's like I've said earlier. It's just like to me, that's really really bad. I've reviewed um, quite a few softcore vampire movies, from like the Redemption line and other films like that, and that's really sad when those movies and they're softcore. Like I said, when those movies the sex scenes look more realistic and the acting is more professional and things like that. That's pretty damn sad to say. And it's pretty sad when your vampire hunters make Roman Polanski and Jack McGowan's characters from if anybody ever seen the movie Fearless Vampire Killers, you got the two main vampire hunters. You got Jack McGowan's character and you got Roman Polanski's character. When your vampire hunters are so bad that they make those two look, look like Van Helsing and Doctor Seward. That's really bad. That's not good at all. Um, but just like I said, there is a little bit of dialogue, but it's really speeded up. It's almost like listening to like something like out of Alvin and the Chipmunks or something, and I guess it's meant to be funny, but I don't know. Just there's a lot of music here from the band Model Do, however you pronounce it. They did all the music for Mondo Weirdo as well, but just yeah. Overall, I'm sorry. This just isn't really a movie I could recommend. It's not really good at all. It's I mean, it's like do you get to see nudity? Yeah. Do you get to there are things you get to see that I'm not particularly interested. There's a lot of barfing in this movie, and I'm not. When I want to, if I'm going to watch a sex movie, I don't really want to see a lot of vomit. And there's even like a scene where they're doing this kind of ritual where I guess they're supposed to be inciting Lucifer or something like that. Where it looks like what they're doing is they're taking tortilla chips and like putting like vegetable oil on them, and they're making people eat them, and everybody's just throwing up all over the place and stuff. It's kind of gross, and so yeah, just um, like I said, just the sex scenes are not really very well filmed at all. There's just a lot of flailing around. There's just a lot of they look more clumsy than they do anything else. Um, it's meant to be shocking. It's meant to be disturbing, things like that. There's like a scene where These two guys are engaging in gay sex and stuff, and I think it's Zaphod and this other guy. They're engaging in gay sex, and so, he takes like a knife or so, or an axe or something. Hits the guy with it and stuff like that. And they're like drinking the blood of this guy and everything. But this girl she's with it, she's like masturbating while she's watching them have sex and stuff. Then it's like she takes the blood and like she's using their blood to the guy's blood to masturbate with. So she's like rubbing it on her vag and everything else. So, but like I said, yeah, it's meant to be or not meant to be sexy, but it's meant to be shocking. It's meant to be disturbing and stuff like that. But it's like I said, it just seems like it doesn't quite get there. Like I said, I've seen movies that do this stuff a whole lot better, and yeah, just I don't know. I would say um, like I said before, this thing here it's limited. And honestly, after watching both of these movies, it's like if you're sitting here like if you're sitting here like feeling bad because you're like, oh man, I want to get that and it's limited, I can't find it. It's like, in all honesty, you're not really missing much. I would say, if you really want like better vampire sex movies, I would say go for like the stuff you see on the Redemption line and stuff like that. Hell, even Embrace of the Vampire. There are a lot of other erotic, sexy vampire movies that do a lot better than this. This movie, it's amateurish, it's bad, and the worst part is it knows it's bad, and but it doesn't. It's there's even a scene where the character I said, who kind of looks a little bit like the cinema snob, is like, it's like he's trying to get away. He goes out and a car pulls up and he's all like, "Get me out of this shitty movie." So it's like it's obvious they know that the movie's not very good, and again, I remember saying um, in the Mondo Weirdo review that they said that Carl Anderson was, he didn't really like write a script. He improvised a lot of it on set and stuff. Like he would just maybe like jot down like a quick outline, and then they would just improv and stuff like that. And this movie clearly shows it, and clearly shows there's no real direction that this movie's going in and stuff. And sometimes doing that whole just kind of like improvising on the set on the day with the camera and stuff, sometimes that sort of thing works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it doesn't. In neither one of these movies, it really doesn't. um like I said, you could put these on for like if you want to have like if you're like a metalhead or something like that, you want to have like a good metal party, you might want to put this on for just something to be playing in the background on the TV and stuff. But I really don't recommend these movies at all. I would definitely say there are much better ones. And like I said, I guess maybe just I was expecting more from it, but just you're kind of like, you think like hardcore vampire movies and stuff. You really think of movies that really kind of like just really like push the boundary, just really push that envelope. And um, but yeah, these movies just don't really quite do it. And they're trying to be too silly. They're trying to be too whatever. But yeah, I really can't recommend either of these movies. So yeah, so like I said, if you're sitting here like, oh man, I'll never be able to get that, it's like you're not really missing much. There are better, there are better vampire movies, even if they are soft core. They're better made. The acting's better, the story's better, everything else. So yeah, you're not really missing much with these. So anyway, so like I said, even for vampire movies that are supposed to be hardcore, it's like they don't, a lot of the sex kind of appears like it's simulated, especially like the girl scenes in these movies. They very much look like they're just kind of simulated and not really happening and stuff like that. And you could tell it looks fake and everything else. But anyway, though, yeah, I'm sorry. This kind of turned more into a rant than it was a movie review. But yeah, just either one of these movies, Mondo Weirdo or Vampiros Sexos, you get to see nudity, you get to see sex, but I really don't recommend either one of these movies. I just say look for something better. Anyway, that's going to do it. Yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough and I've ranted long enough. So if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it and I appreciate you for doing it. I really hope you enjoyed the video, such as it is. If you did like the video, please like and subscribe. I do weekly videos. I do shelf by shelves of my movie collection. I do movie reviews. haul videos, all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, if you're watching this for the first time, you know, yeah, check it out. I think you'd like what I do. So anyway, that's going to do it. This is Cinema77 horror cult film lover, and I'll be back with another video. And until then, take care, have a good night, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.